Josie, do you want to come in?
Yeah. On the cuts, we really need to get this message out on the doorsteps and let our residents know what's actually happening. As local councillors, we're best placed to do that, and letting people know that the actual effects and the real damage it's going to be causing to our communities, and it's going to hit every single one of us. Everyone's going to feel the pinch, and unfortunately, it's our councils that are having to make these tough decisions, and that leads me on to the libraries. We're having to being forced to make these really difficult decisions, and a Labour council will always try to protect services, and that's what we need to get across as Labour councillors. On housing, the housing benefit reforms that the Tory government is trying to push through, it's absolutely going to tear our society apart. We're going to end up with the haves living in one place and the have-nots living in another place, because they can't afford to live in certain areas, and that's what we're seeing in London. My committee, Housing and Regeneration Select Committee in our council, are currently looking at the poor conditions in the private rented sector, a completely unregulated sector at the moment, and that's where the government is hoping to push, people that can't afford at the moment to have live in social housing, and they've got no plan to help us with social housing, and it's a real problem that us as local councillors are facing, how to deal with social housing and also to protect our residents against cowboy landlords, really, who are having our residents live in absolutely awful conditions.
Okay. Ben.
On the cuts, it's, well, as I come from a Tory heartland in South Devon, so it's just important we take our message out there and just say, when they make excuses about, oh, well, the government are cutting our budgets, well, it's your government, you voted for them, you're a Tory councillor, you have to make these decisions because you wanted them to do this, and we just make sure that we just keep on fighting. And on the housing benefit, we have second homes down in South Devon, so there's a massive issue with their council tax rebate on second homes, and I know Cornwall County Council have just put through a motion about getting the government to change their plans. I think is it 80%? I think the Labour upped it from, they used to have a 50% discount, it's now 80%, and hopefully we should change it to they have no discount, because if you own a second home, you should pay full council tax. It's only fair.
Caroline.
Just very quickly, I think I'm right in saying that even Conservative councillors in his own council are arguing against the closure of the sort of hall that town hall that everyone values in that part of the world, and I think it pretty much sums it up about Eric and the rest of the team in government at the moment. They know the price of everything and the value of nothing. That's what they're about. As to some of the other comments being made, look, we really need you to help us in Parliament, and one of the ways you can do that is by making sure you're providing us with the ammunition about what's going on where Tories and Liberal Democrats are making decisions. As everyone said, it's not easy tackling and dealing with these cuts being imposed on local government, but there are quite horrendous stories, and we've heard some today, about how the Tories and Liberal Democrats have gone about things in a way which actually doesn't show any compassion, doesn't show any real strategy, and doesn't show any value for people who work in councils, or for that matter, the communities they're meant to serve.
Okay, I think we've got time to take another round of 3 questions. So, the delegate in red over there, the man waving his arms doing kind of semaphore or something over there, and the woman in the striped top there. Where's the first?
Thank you. My name's Hannah. I'm from Chelmsford in Essex. I'm not lucky enough to live in an area of a Labour area, My local Labour Party worked tirelessly to win seats, but to no avail. I stood in the local elections in May, in the ward that I live in, a ward of mainly working class people, and I lost by 200 votes, which is actually only 100 votes. Even the working class people in my area think it's okay to vote to the Tories, and I think it's because they are scared. We have one lonely councillor, and in May we had the support of Ed Balls, our campaigning guru, who came to our area and campaigned locally. We were thrilled to have a high-profile Labour MP helping us, and I think it made a hell of a lot of difference. We welcome the support of this kind, and we really want you to help us, the bigwigs, to help us nurture these red shoots that are appearing in this horrendous sea of blue.
Great. OK, the second one.
Good morning, conference. My name is John Harvey. I'm from Buckingham, and I'm a town councillor. And we have 8 of the 17 councillors are declared Labour councillors. And with the help of independents, we more or less run the place. And I guess I want to speak up for town and parish councillors, because I think we're one of the big building blocks of refounding Labour. And in all those areas which are dominated by Cllr blue at district and county level, then at local, town and parish level, we have real opportunities to make a difference. We're organising events to build communities, we're clearing out the rivers, we're challenging the local district council with planning decisions. I set up the first online petition in our local area against a car parking charge. We're building links with the local community. And if those of you in the room who are not parish councillors or town councillors, please think of becoming so, because we can do a hell of a lot of good in our communities at that level. We can really hold local district, Tory districts, Lib Dem districts to account for their terrible decisions that they're imposing on local communities. So I guess what I'd like to say is to the panel is, what do you say about people becoming more town councillors and parish councillors? It would be good to have that affirmation from the NEC and beyond as well.
Yeah. And then the final question up there at the back.
Hello, I'm Lucy Hamilton from Weymouth and Portland Borough Council, recently elected in May this year. Just a quick word. I never thought of becoming a Labour councillor before, a year ago, and I would encourage everyone to think about it. And it's just a great team in the Labour Party, and it's fantastic to see, as part of refounding Labour, that we're going to get additional support in terms of training and materials for councils. Now, I think the question I wanted to ask was about a central government settlement, which I know is a serious big problem for our large metropolitan areas. And famously, Dorset hit the news when we were the only county in the country to get a rise. Now, that was good news for us in Dorset, because we were at the bottom of the league till then. Dorset is a big landing county. The borough of Weymouth and Portland, however, has one of the highest rates of teenage pregnancy in the country. We have an elderly population, which is great. And right now, our wealthy county councillor, our newly moneyed county council, is seeking to close daycare centres. And I've heard from colleagues here this week, comrades here this week, places like Hillingdon, where they're rationing pads, and I'm sure other councillors have horror stories. So how can we most effectively, as councillors, campaign on areas for which we don't directly have responsibility?
Okay. James, do you want to come in first?
Yeah, sure. The only way of campaigning and actually getting out there and getting the message across to people is door to door and street by street. We have to actually get really local and down into those local areas to show that we have credibility on the ground, and therefore have credibility to talk about the bigger issues. We have to also nurture our new candidates, and we're lucky in York. We have a lot of councillors and campaigners with some experience, but also we were given support by the Local Government Association and so on in terms of the messages and from Caroline in terms of what is happening in government that we could let people know about on the doorstep. But it is important also that we try and get more candidates into the town and parish councils. We have town and parish councils in York. And we have a couple of parish councillors there, but we can do more. And also, what is worrying is if we don't put up those candidates, the other parties do. And quite often in parish councils, there aren't any elections. There was only 2 contested elections in York for parish council, out of about 60 seats or so on. And some of those people that were elected completely without an election were members of the BNP that are using it as a method to be able to get into local government and give them credibility. And if I can stand as a councillor, if Lucy over there can stand as a councillor, and we can all be councillors, then everyone sitting in this room can stand up and be councillors and need to stand up and be counted.